Hi everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Follow me on all my social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, and Pinterest. Search for Creative Katie, you'll find me. If you wish to support my channel, you can shop through my Amazon influencer links or make a direct donation through my PayPal link. Both can be found in the description box below. Another way to support my channel, hit the subscribe button. Click on the bell and you'll be sure to be notified as soon as I upload new videos. Today we have a mixed media tutorial entitled Live, Laugh, Relax. It's beach house decor. Did you know I'm a brand ambassador for the Crafters Workshop? You'll see some of their products being used in this video. So I'm starting with a 10 by 20 narrow canvas. And I've got some music sheets here that I purchased at the thrift store. And I'm just putting them down on here. Mainly I want texture, although some of it may show up in the end. And then I decide that I'm going to also grab some tissue paper strips. And again, my idea here is to build up the texture. And I find just this process of gluing things down and playing with pattern, even if it disappears later, it just gets my mind going, getting me into that creative zone. People often ask, like, why do you put it there? You don't see it at the end. Everything you add in a mixed media piece or art journal piece contributes to the end product in some way. I'm using gel medium and a matte finish to apply this, but you can use, I've used Mod Podge before. And I'm wrapping it around to the outside edge because I want the texture and I want that to go around the edges. So I have some homemade stamps here, and I'm just using archival ink and just stamping them on and around. And this is just, again, getting my mind into the creative zone. None of this requires a whole lot of thinking, but um, really gets me going on a page. I love these homemade stamps. They're made with fun foam. I do have a video that you can check out how I made these. They're really easy to make, inexpensive, and I really am enjoying using them on my pages and canvases. So I'm using a Crafters Workshop stencil, and I think it's called Tribal Triangles. It's a Balzer design stencil, and I'm using light and fluffy modeling paste through the stencil, and I'm applying that onto here. I want that texture to show up. Sometimes I put paint first, sometimes I put this first. You get a slightly different effect, but you don't have to rigidly stick to the order. You can always mix them up. Now, my idea in my head is to have three different color sections. So there I'm going to use warm colors, in the medium, in the middle I'm going to use blues, and on the outside I'm going to use kind of more red colors, another warm color one. I'm kind of setting this up as if it was three separate canvases, which you could do. You could do each of these on a separate canvas and then hang them as a triptych. So here I have quinacridone magenta, yellow, light yellow, I think it's Artist Loft, and orange, which is also Artist Loft. And I'm just mixing these colors right on top of the canvas that has been layered with all this texture. And you can see that some of that texture, whether it's modeling paste or the tissue paper, is showing up. I find using my fingers, I get more the effect that I want, but you can use a brush if that's what you prefer. The middle size, I'm using the light yellow, light aqua, and turquoise. So some of them I've used the same colors with other color combination. Here the yellow is the same between the two panels. On this one, I'm going more with the purple, and we have the magenta from the other side and the orange. And some of the blue. I just wanted different colors in each one. So I'm going to be playing with that a while till I get that effect. Here I want to bring out more of that purple. That's deep violet, which is one of my favorite colors. And when you mix it with orange, oh my, it is just lovely. At this point, a lot of the background, the stamping and stuff is very visible. And you could leave it at this point. When you watch my videos, I'm hoping that you find one or two tidbits of information. Not necessarily are you going to go and make exactly what I've made, but use something, a color scheme, some idea in what you create. This can be done in an art journal page. It can be made bigger. It can be made smaller. This was looking a little too much orange, and I didn't like that look because I wanted it to be distinctly different. So I kept adding layers, letting it dry in between, and moving it towards the blue purple. That's the fun with acrylics. Just let it dry. You can always add another layer. So now I'm going to do some stenciling, and this is the Tribal Triangles stencil. And if that is in Amazon, along with any of the other stencils that I use, I will put it in the description box below. And I'm using the same colors on here. And my mind is trying to figure out how I'm going to, where I'm going to take this, because I know I'm going to be doing some negative painting with flip-flop shapes. This is coral spray. So I'm kind of, sometimes I'm going to another area with the same stencil, and sometimes I just keep the one stencil on there. This one's Dotted Rings, one of my favorites. It just adds that little something something to all my sides. I cannot remember the name of this one. This is one of the new, it is a Rebecca Meyer. No, it's not. I can't remember the name of the person. Art by Marlene? I'm always, I use the colors that are already down below, but then I add white and or black and or metallic. Those are kind of my neutrals. And I'm just picking out, one or two parts of a stencil. And I've decided here I want each of the flip-flops to look different, so different colors and different patterns, because they're fun and funky, right? So I'm just adding layers. And if you put something down and you don't like it, if you add something on top of it, it pushes it back and minimizes the effect of it. And I'm bringing some of the colors from the middle to this side. And I was remembering here that one that I did that looked very Spanish, and I like the orange with the teal. So I thought, oh, that would be very cool. And the stencils that I have are, they come in the 6-inch size as well as the 12 by 12. If you don't like it, quick baby wipe, get rid of it. This is Retro Bursts. This is one of my favorites. It's an older one, but I find I use it an awful lot. So you get some indecision. So there is the flip-flops, and it's going to say live, laugh, relax. So I'm just tracing these flip-flops in this way. And there's, I just kept playing with them, flipping them this way and that way to see what I got, what I liked. And I picked a fairly large size. This was just a free template, and I made it as big as would fit because I'm going to paint out the negative space around the flip-flops. The only thing that's going to be left with the pattern and the color is going to be the shape of the flip-flops. And I played around with the fonts on my word processor to get the size that I like. Now these are printed out just on copy paper, and you could fussy cut those out and glue them just like that. If that's all you have, that's great. I took those same words once I figured out the size, and I cut a stencil with my Silhouette Cameo. So now that I know where the flip-flops are going, I want to make sure that there's enough pattern inside the flip-flop, because everything around the flip-flop is going to get painted out when I do the negative painting. So I have this floral one, and I have kind of this Aztec-y one on the far left-hand side. Thinking there's not quite enough pattern on this flip-flop, so I'm just adding. Now that I know where this is going, usually by the end of a project, I know how to do the project. And I add these little zigzags. This is one of their cookie stencils. Diamond stencils, star stencils. And I obviously did not like it, and then I use a couple more. The one I end up with, and you can see the indecision. I think I used the zigzag stencil and the cookie one and Diamond Dash. Needed more contrast. I wanted a nicer pattern here that was distinctly different than the other ones. There's Diamond Dash right there going on, and I like how that adds to it. And adding the black also worked. So hopefully you can see sometimes you just got to try. Now I can do that because everything underneath is acrylic and therefore is permanent. I'm still not very happy with the middle one. I left in all my indecision. I hope you're giggling at me. So I'm not really happy with where this went. So I'm fixing it. I'm getting those colors out and I'm putting another layer in, and then I'm going to come back and pick the patterns that I like now that I've kind of decided. And that's the joy of using acrylic paints. So here's the retro burst stencil. And this one's a cookie stencil zigzag. I don't bake cookies. And right here where I put this in blue, it's distinct enough from the rest and it really popped. So it's all worth it. So you kind of want bolder patterns, something to stand up. I think I'm going to do this canvas or an art journal page very similar, both again with flip-flops, but doing it using a different technique. This one I use negative painting. So here I have the bright aqua paint and I have light blue permanent in there, and I'm mixing them and I'm painting out the background, the negative space. And I'm just putting the template for the flip-flop on top. Sometimes with all that pattern on there, it gets a little confusing about where the layers are. Now you can see the texture and the pattern peeking through. Because remember, we put the music paper and the tissue paper, so that all gave it texture, and then all the stamping also gives it some visual pattern in there. And this color is not completely opaque, so you're still able to see that through there, and you're definitely able to feel and see the texture. In fact, you see more texture there on the negative space than with all the pattern of the flip-flops. Typically, I use an angle brush when I'm painting out the negative space. And I find doing negative painting works well when your image is, pretty simple, rounded edges, nothing too complex, not a lot of detail. Curves, circles, hearts work well. And I'm mixing the paint, and I'm not, at some places it looks lighter than other places, and I like that. The bright aqua and the light blue permanent are both a little more opaque than some other paints, than say for instance my Prussian blue. Now I'm just using the floating acrylic technique to shade around the flip-flop. And that's just making it pop and stand out from the background. And here I'm going on the inside of the flip-flop. I think later I go with blue on the outside. I'm not sure if that's on camera though. And I'm using black because there's black on the lettering that I'm going to use. You can see the one on the far left there, the flower one, hasn't had the shading done yet. And you can see the difference that makes. So there's the texture, and I'm just rubbing darker colors, some of the purple on it, some of the Prussian blue on top with the pad of my fingers. Kind of like dry brushing, but with my finger. And I just want to catch it out and bring up the texture of the modeling paste with that stencil, and even from the paper, the layers of paper, the tissue paper and um, the music paper. There you can see it. It's added a very interesting detail to it. I'm just adding here, I think it's Prussian blue mostly that I'm adding. Sometimes if you want to add a lighter color, if you put a darker color first, put like the dark Prussian blue or a navy, and then do white on top, gives another effect. So now I want the top part of the flip-flops, and I'm just cutting those out of copy paper. I think this paper is a little thicker than copy paper, and I'm painting it a solid, coordinating or contrasting color that stands out. And again, because I have three flip-flop there, the yellow from one goes with, they kind of work together. And I'm just going to collage this on with gel medium. And I apologize for the shadow. This is now into the evening. I was determined to get this done, but the lighting in my studio is absolutely horrible. Which of these flip-flops would you like to buy? I think I'd like the one that I'm doing right now, and I'd also buy the one with the flowers, the purple and blue and the flowers on the other side. I really think I will be doing more with flip-flops. It was just a fun project to do. So they're overlapping, so I'm just using the X-Acto knife ever so gently because I was right on the canvas. So here's the stencil that I cut, and it's just out of like dividers from binders. And I'm just using white here to put it on, just the modeling paste. And I'm putting it on fairly thick because I want to have that dimension. Now I wanted to do some shading on this part of the flip-flop. Look at that yummy texture in the background. I'll be using a lot more tissue paper in the background. Because I really like the effect, and it's very inexpensive because you can get tissue paper massive amounts at the dollar store. Then I decide to add a little more detail, and I'm using my fine line bottle and white. And while normally I do the dot, 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 I am just doing kind of a thin, narrow line here. Love these fine line bottles. I put in a mixture of, it's just regular Liquitex Basics heavy body paint that I've thinned down. And it's just trial and error. I don't have an exact measurement, but I'd never mix up like the full bottle of paint. I put maybe if I even a quarter of the bottle it gets filled at a time, and it lasts a long time. The white I think worked well because the letters are done in white. And then I go dash dash all the way around the outside of the canvas. I also, you can see I've added gold on the high points of the texture. Here's some close-ups of the finished canvas. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you give it a try. The flip-flops make a fun project. Leave me a comment below. And at the end, I've given you some suggestions for other videos that you might find interesting. Bye for now.